suggested that with the tariff rates as high as they are now, it's effectively an embargo of trade between the United States and China. Do you see it that way?
That's true. 145% is very high, and it won't be that high. It's not going to be that high. It got up to there. We were talking about fentanyl, where, various elements built it up to 145. No, it won't be anywhere near that high.
What level do you think it'll come down to if you haven't?
It'll come down substantially, but it won't be zero. It used to be zero. We were just destroyed. China was taking us for a ride, and just not going to have. It's not going to happen. We're going to be very good to China. Have a great relationship with President Xi, but they would make billions and billions and billions of dollars a year, and they would build their military out of the United States and what they made. So that won't happen. But they're going to do very well, and I think they're going to be happy, and I think we're going to live together very happily and ideally work together. So I think it's going to work out very well. But no, it's at 145%. It will not be anywhere near that number.
Market knew that Trump is going to give in to China. How does it know? And how can we use this information to our advantage in the stock market? Stock market is up 2.51% on April 22nd. Nasdaq 2.71% on April 22nd. So even before that news came out, so stock market was already up 2.66%. Dow Jones. Look at that. So at the beginning of the day, Secretary Pence said he expects the escalation in US-China tariff fight in the very near future. So that's why stock market was up. And then after that, President Trump came out and said this. And not sure how long it's gonna last, because this can change anytime. Maybe the next day President Trump's gonna say, oh, there's a we have to impose more because China doesn't give us what we want, and that could happen. Right at the moment, now stock market is going to be up, and I believe it's gonna be up this week for a few days more. And what do you think? Do you think the tension could rise again, or do you think stock markets and the tensions, stock market is gonna go up because tension is gonna keep going down? What do you think? Comment down below. So, does it mean that US lost and gave it to China because China had some other tricks up their sleeves? And what do you think? So let's see what they think. US imposes 10% tariff on China February 4, 20% on March 4, and 34% on April 2nd. China imposes 34% April 4, 104% April 9, 84% the same day, 145% the same day. Beijing retaliate 125%, and Trump excludes Chinese electronics from tariff. So, according to this video, Xi Jinping won the wrong one, right? Because Trump was the first one to give in. Right? Trump exempts phones, computers, other electronics from reciprocal tariff. The funny thing is that if you buy made in China phone, like the whole thing in China, you are exempt from tariff. But if you get out all the other parts, plastics, phone cover, chips, and any other electronic parts, import them, and to make it in US, you need to pay more. So you might as well buy phones directly from China factory. So it's much cheaper. So there's a policy loophole, and that could happen. The exemption happened because Apple said to be flying iPhones from India to US to avoid Trump tariff, because Apple is one of the biggest company in the US. So if President Trump did not exempt phones, computers, electronics, he was basically punishing Apple. So that's why he could be exempting tariff on electronics and phones. And another reason is Elon Musk made a direct appeals to tariff to reverse sweeping new tariffs. And another reason, billionaire investor pay a month cost for 90-day pause on tariff. So do you think that's the reason why Trump gave in to China? Or do you think it's because of Chinese retaliation? Look at that. China hits back at US tariff with export control of rare earth. And also, hey, we gotta limit Hollywood film imports, right? Because US trade wars. And another thing is China orders airlines to suspend Boeing jet deliveries amid trade war. So what do you think? Do you think is it because China retaliation and that caused President Trump to give in, or do you think it's his own supporters against tariff? All the tariff. I wouldn't say they are against all the tariffs. I would say they are against like inclusive tariff, like on allies like EU or Canada or Mexico. So most people want Trump to focus just on China, not on everybody else. And so what do you think? Anyway, it's a good news, no matter what, for investor, but I think the stock market could be volatile in a short time. So just be really careful about it. And another thing that I think is because Trump look at the 10-year treasury yield. At the beginning, when he made an issue with tariff, then stock market crashed, then 10-year treasury went down because lots of people flocked to US bonds. So US has to roll over the debt that they have at the beginning of this year. So the lowest interest rate they got is 3.86. Hopefully President Trump and Treasury, they got what they wanted. Then realized that President Trump started to want to fire Jerome Powell, then 10-year Treasury yield jump. Look at the jump. So he started to think, all the tensions no longer work anymore. Now because international investors are losing faith in the US financial system because if Trump could fire Jerome Powell, there is no independence, right? Federal Reserve has to care about only two objectives: price stability and maximum employment, right? If Federal Reserve give in to or listen to the president and decrease the interest rate as he wants, then there's no trust in the Federal Reserve system to do their job. So that's why investors got afraid and they dumped US bonds and the yield spike. All the effort that President Trump did became nothing, became in vain because of his rhetoric on Jerome Powell, and tension on tariff trade war no longer was. So let's see. And he said he's gonna play nice with China. So
Going to play hardball with them? Are you going to mention COVID?
Well,
Are you
I'm not
mention
going to say, no, I'm not going to mention COVID. I'm not going to say, I'm going to play hardball with China. I'm going to play hardball with you, President Xi. No. We're going to be very nice. They're going to be very nice. And we'll see what happens. But ultimately, they have to make a deal because otherwise they're not going to be able to deal in the United States. And we want them involved. But they have to, and other countries have to make a deal. And if they don't make a deal, we'll set the deal. Because we're the ones that set the deal. Scott and Howard and myself and others, we're going to be setting the deal. And it'll be a fair deal for everybody. And it'll be, I think it's a process that's going to go pretty quickly. China was taking us for a ride and just not going to have, it's not going to happen. We're going to be very good to China, have a great relationship with President Xi. But they would make billions and billions and billions of dollars a year, and they would build their military out of the United States and what they made, so that won't happen. But they're going to do very well, and I think they're going to be happy, and I think we're going to live together very happily and ideally work together. So I think it's going to work out very well.
yeah, good news for the next few days at least, until he changes his mind. So Do you want me to make videos on how China gives into? Comment down below. And what's really important thing is you notice that US give in somehow because China is powerful. So it's very important to be powerful. Just like, you know, in real life, you work for somebody else and you don't have power. But if you know how to make money just from your home, or when you can travel around the world and you can still make money 1 to 2 hours a day and make 100,000 a month. So that's pretty good power, right? So you can bring your families around the world. You know, everybody can retire. So if you want to learn more how to retire from stock investing, option trading and advanced option trading, subscribe to the channel, and you can also open a stock trading account if you are starting out. The link's gonna be in the YouTube description, comment down below. And if you have any question, feel free to ask me, comment down below, share, subscribe. I will see you in the next video. Bye.